So before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Tongva Nation, on whose home and land the unceded territory of Los Angeles resides. As we are reminded of our environment's vulnerabilities, we hold respect and gratitude for the Tongva people who still consider themselves the caretakers of this land. By their example, we are reminded of our responsibility to our planet and one another. Let us reflect on and honor with gratitude the indigenous communities of past and present on whose land you're joining from today. And in a moment, I'll drop in the chat a resource for you. This resource is a map where you can actually look up where you live and learn more about the indigenous communities that are from where you live. So this is a really, really valuable resource. I'll put it in the chat in just a second, but there's just a little few more housekeeping items. So I want to mention before we begin that as the host today, I am here for you if you encounter any tech issues with Zoom, if you can't see something like maybe for some reason you can't see the slides. If you have any issues like that, feel free to DM me. Now, Zoom has a new function and for chatting. If you have issues figuring that out, you can also just put Jessica in the main chat. I need to talk to you, and then I'll DM you. So if you run into that, just feel free to shout me out. Okay. Now let's get back to the script. And almost ready to pass things off to Mary. Thank you so much. So I would like to welcome Dr. Mary Hardy. I don't want to say too much about her. I think she can introduce herself pretty well, but I do want to thank her for joining us today and also just note a little bit about her background. So Dr. Mary Hardy is board certified in internal medicine and a specialist in botanical and integrative medicine who has actively combined complementary and alternative therapies with traditional Western medicine for over 25 years in both her clinical practice and
Talking
research.
with that now. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would also like to welcome her back because this is not her first time with us, and I'm really, really grateful for Dr. Mary Hardy's contributions to the Hope series and to Arts and Healing Initiative. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things off. Thank you.
Hi, you guys. It's wonderful to be with you today. The other part of my bio that didn't get mentioned is my artistic practice. And I've been drawing, painting, creating since I was a child, and I have a special training in painting, printmaking, mixed media drawing, etc. So I'm going to share my slides so we can get started. And the point of everything we're going to do today is that you guys will find, I want to make this so that everybody, no matter what your level of expertise and artistic ability, you'll have a chance to end up with something that you can make and feel really good about. So, for those of you who expect to learn how to make a fancy-pantsy mandala like this, we're going to start back at zero and we're going to go from there, and I'm going to build you guys up so that you'll have a chance to be really successful in this. If after this is finished, I'm working on teaching you freehand mandalas. If if you want to pursue further than that, let Arts and Healing Initiative know, and I'll be happy to come back and teach a class where you really draw mandalas with protractors and rulers and the whole 9 yards. So what are the health benefits of the arts? I'm going to highlight this for you because I am a physician and used arts and art practice in my medical practice as well. So this relieves stress, it changes your mood wonderfully. It's good for pain relief. It helps some arts like dancing really help movement and coordination, etc. But all the arts and the hand-drawn arts, the visual arts, are very good about enhancing memory, focus, neuroresilience, etc. And if you can reduce your judgment on your own output, you'll learn something about your creativity. And I always encourage people who are very judgmental about their work to put it away and look at it again later and be surprised by how creative you really are. Now, this particular kind of drawing, mandala drawing, also has a lot of history as being a religious or a soulful kind of practice. So this will also help improve your mental flexibility, enhance creativity. It gives access to the unconscious psyche. And one of the most famous psychiatrists, analysts of the 20th century, Carl Jung, who who really popularized the idea of archetypes, those echoes out of our unconscious that give us a larger picture for who we are, and that these pictures are common, and we'll see people show up with some of the same pictures, like healer for me, artist for you guys. Example. So had a mandala practice, much like I'm going to teach you today, and found it to be a tremendous tool for self-realization, self-development, and when we do this well, it becomes akin to a meditative state. We enter the flow state and it becomes really deeply nurturing. Now, when I say the word mandala, people often see this image. This is a Tibetan mandala. This is one of the mandalas that has a religious significance. And you can see that it's an organization of a series of circles with squares. The colors are very particular. They all have religious meanings, the points around the compass, etc. This is another example of a religious type mandala. This is the north window of the Chartres Cathedrals, which is a gorgeous building, kind of like manifests spirituality in some ways. And again, you can see the organization in a circle that's often seen in mandalas. But other cultures also have mandalas. So the medicine wheel for the Native Americans, you'll see the circle show up as a symbol in cultures all over the world, and also in cultures going back to our very, very earliest past. This is an image of some carvings in the rock of a Neolithic rock site in Great Britain. And again, you can see the concentric circles. And I think the circle is a ubiquitous symbol because it's everywhere in nature. It's everywhere around us. If we look up into the sky, we see the sun and the moon. And these were very powerful forces in nature for early hunters and hunter-gatherers, especially as they started to transition into more out of the Neolithic into the more settled times when they needed to predict time and crops and seasons, etc. Our eye is the pupil of our eye, the colored part of our eye, the iris, is a round thing. So this circle, I invite you to see this as perhaps the most ubiquitous shape and the first shape that we've ever drawn, going back into the cave times. Oh, I forgot to put this in presentation mode. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so again, you can see better the circles now. Um, and this also brings up other shapes that build out of the circle, a labyrinth, a spiral. You can find these in sacred buildings all over the world. And the circle signifies wholeness, unity, completion, and it's a boundary of what's inside is self, what's outside may not be self, what's inside is your polis, your city, what's outside may be something else. But the mandala, the way that Tibetans used it, it was a map of the universe, it was a map of everything. And so I think that's an important thing to think about when you're steeping yourself in the circles that we're going to be drawing and using. Now, I want to talk for a minute about a new kind of drawing. Some of you who were with me in my last Hope series, where I talked about slow or meditative drawing, have already heard about this, but I'm going to go through it again because I want you to change a little bit about how we normally draw. The point of this is in the name. If you slow way down, if your drawing becomes deliberate, intentional, um, and you focus on the act, on the actual drawing itself, you take your mind away from all of the judgment and everything like that, and you're just focusing on exactly what you're drawing. And therefore, the process becomes important more so than what the product looks like. Believe me, if I draw a straight line, I have lots of judgments about it. That's crooked, that's this, that's that. And you're going to see a lot of stuff from my sketchbook today. And really, there's a lot of mistakes in there. Things are cattywampus, but but the process was important for me. And I also wanted to show you that sometimes things aren't perfect and they're still perfectly good. Okay. While you're drawing, you have to think about be in your body a bit more than you normally are, maybe. So you're going to breathe in a particular way, and that's a deep, slow, relaxed way. So you're going to first breath in, you push out your abdomen, and then as you expand your chest from your belly up, you release your breath, and it's a natural relaxation in the out breath. Okay? Now, sometimes when you're trying to draw quite precisely, you may need to moderate your breath so that you're not having a big out breath when you're drawing, but basically just keep your breathing slow, deep, and even. Let your body relax, let your shoulders relax. Your hands, you're going to be using your hands. Don't grab that pencil so strongly, pen or whatever you're using. Hold it, hold it in a way that you control the pencil, but keep your hand relaxed. And I'm going to remind you of these things as you're drawing so that this can become more, you can experience this as you're doing the exercises. And make sure that you're mindful of the sensory experience of your drawing. See the line, feel the pen move across the paper, watch the color follow your hand. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is draw meditative lines in a circle. This sounds super basic, and it is, but it's a chance to practice this kind of meditative drawing. You're going to use that throughout the rest of the class. Now, I sent you guys a handout that has a bunch of small circles. If you printed that out, terrific. You can use the small circles. If you didn't, you can just quickly trace out using anything you have, a bottle top, a top of a lid of a something. You draw yourself a set of circles. Do that right now while you listen to me give you the rest of the instructions. In this, you're going to draw simple lines inside the circle. Straight lines is how I started. Start with small circles, draw gently, let yourself flow across the page. Go really slowly. If you think you get wonky when you're drawing or you overshoot the edge of your circle, take a breath and then go back and slowly start your drawing again. Remember to breathe and remember to relax your hand. Okay, so if everybody's ready, you have your paper in front of you. This is an example from my sketchbook, so you can see how I did my lines. You can do any of this or all of this. Just watch out, by the end, your lines are going to start to want to kiss each other. That happens to me all the time. Okay, so now begin. You'll have a few minutes for this exercise. Don't rush, you have all the time in the world. Remember to keep your breathing going. You're laying down lines gently, sweetly in this circle. Be intentional. Place each line as close to the one before it as you can. Relax your shoulders. Relax your hand. Allow yourself to just sink more deeply into this drawing. Put your whole attention on following the line across the page. Alrighty, take a deep breath, and we're going to come back together. If you have anything you want to say at any time about any of these exercises, you can always interrupt me. I can't see you because I turned off the pictures so you could see my slides better, but just pop in and let me know. Okay, so the drawing of lines, I hope you found that a settling, centering relationship. When I get anxious, I just start to do this. It's very helpful. Now, the other thing about mandalas is you don't just use the linear vertical or horizontal part of the circle. Mandalas are often radiate out from a center. So we're going to redo the line drawing, but we're going to change our orientation a little bit. We're going to draw radiant lines, lines going out from the circle, from the center point. Find your center point, mark it, and then start each line from that point and go out to the edge of the circle, turning, maybe even turning the page as you draw so that you have a good angle as you put the lines in a circle. Stop at the edge of the circle. Again, it's a function of concentration that you find that edge. Again, go more slowly if you're having trouble doing that, and just draw what you fill up. It doesn't matter how many lines you do. Try to keep the lines as close together as you can, make them as even as you can. But as you'll notice in this example that I'm showing you, my lines aren't always even. And I don't always get to the end. I always sometimes miss the edge of the circle. So this is an example of radiant lines going out. Single color, seek it simple, and draw. And as you notice, as you go back to the center, you're going to start to make almost like a star symbol in the middle, here in the middle of your circle. I love watching that come out of the image as I'm drawing it. So another chance to go back into a quiet state and draw. Again, you can make your own circles, or you can, or you can use the circles I've given you to draw within. If you use the small 1.5-inch circles before, you may want to go into the 2.5-inch circles. It may feel like you have a little bit more room to draw this radiant line. But I will warn you, the longer your lines are, the more likely they are to be a little shaky. Okay, um, let's just take a minute. Center yourself, do your deep breathing, and now begin the radiant lines. Remember to release your breath, relax your abdomen, let your shoulders drop. Keep your breathing slow, rhythmic, and even. Fully inhabit this circle, starting off with yourself centered in the middle. Then push your lines out gracefully to the edge of the circle and enjoy the sweep of the arc of the circle as you continue around. Lean into what you feel as you draw, what you hear, and what you see. Be fully present for this. Okay, bring your attention back to the room, and I hope that was a equally satisfying, if a bit different, drawing experience. Now we're going to talk for a second about concentric circles. That's the next element in the mandala. We have that circle starting back with our, sending us all the way back to prehistory before written language. We've learned about the circle. And now we're going to break our circle into bands. We're going to draw concentric circles. I recommend that you first draw this plain, and it's a chance for you to fool with the tools that you use to make circles. If you got the handout ahead of time and you know that um, you can use a compass. This takes you back to grade school, drawing with a compass. So you can draw with a compass. You can go back to your bottle tops and your jar tops. But I want you to make a set of nested circles. And in doing these practices, and even as you elaborate your mandala, what leads to the relaxation is the repetition, the symmetry, the repeat, the beats of that associated as you associate them with your breath, especially. Color can affect mood, and so you can certainly add color if you want to this. Draw with a different pen, put in bands of color. On the left is an example from a really famous artist from the early 20th century named Vasily Kandinsky. And he was one of the first people to consciously draw what he thought was the spirit in art. He and Helma af Klimt were two of the people who first did that as abstraction. They call Kandinsky one of the fathers of abstract art, but he was specifically searching often for the spiritual in art as well. And you can see these concentric circles that he drew, hand drawn, they're sloppy, they're wonky. I think of them almost as mood studies. This is not a particularly soothing kind of picture for me, but you can then explore your own pictures as well if you want. So we're going to take a couple of minutes, just a really short time for you to explore your tools. So draw the circle. You begin by marking the center. Then you set out your nested concentric circles, either freehand or with a drawing aid. And I'm going to come out of the slides for just a second so I can show you what I used to draw these circles. And it's a drawing tool, and it's basically a circle. Can you guys see that? And it goes around. So you can use it to make really even lines, and it's called Angle and Circle Maker. But you can do that with a with a compass just as easily. And while I have your faces, any problems so far? Everybody okay? Everybody's okay? Good. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go back to sharing. And now you get to practice with the tools that you have. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to draw concentric circles. again, it's when you're learning something new or you're starting this process, just just start small, okay? And don't get too again too attached to this. You're learning to do this. Okay. Now, next I'm going to show you I'm going to let you start drawing, and I'm going to show you. This is on the left. I sent you this so you can have a set of concentric circles so you don't have to try too hard to make your own. This is another set out of my sketchbook. I like to draw on old printed pages, so you'll see a lot of this as you go forward. And this is one that I added color, but haven't done anything else to it yet. And you can organize the color any way you like. Okay, so I'm going to give you just about 2 minutes for this. It shouldn't take too long. And then we're going to come back together, and then we're going to start on the mandalas in more specificity. Okay, same issue as before. Deep breath, go slowly, keep your hand even. Okay, deep breath. Explore the circles and see them nested together. Keep your breath even. Relax your hand. Okay, 2 minutes. Come back to the room, and I'm gonna again come out of the screen so that I can answer any questions anybody has so far. Unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can put it in the chat and Jessica will alert me if you've put something in the chat.
I had a question, Mary, Dr. Mary, and that is, did we start from the inner circle to do our concentric?
You know, that's the easy way to do it, but by all means, make it hard on yourself. I have no problem with that. I usually start from the smallest circle and build out. That's how I do it, but you can build in if you want to. How did you do it?
I started from the inside and it's very wonky.
Yeah, it's okay. You know what? First time, no problem. It'll look great when you color it.
Thank
No, no problem. No problem at all. Anybody else have a question or an issue? Okay, great. All righty. So now we're going to go into sort of more of what we had been initially talking about with this. So I'm going to go back to my share. And I'm going to share my slides again. Okay, so I'm going to close this. There it goes. All right, so now let's get on to what we're advertised to do today. As you can tell, I've been giving you pieces of the mandala building so that you can break it out and feel like you're a bit more in control. But the mandala is it's a very evocative symbol. I'm wearing a mandala here that I got at Glastonbury in England. Um, but what it means is it's Sanskrit for circle. and it means point as well. So you can see there's this interplay of a circle whose point is some is nowhere and whose circumference is everywhere. I love that quote. So you're in the universe and of the universe that the whole at the whole time, and that's intentional in the way the Hindu, the Buddhist, the Tibetan Buddhist, Indian Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist use this mandala idea. They specifically meant that it was a pattern of creation, and that by immersing yourself in the world represented there, you could enlarge your consciousness to creation. And it was an aid for meditation, for it was a teaching. I have a beautiful uh, medicine Buddha tanka, a mandala, which has the Buddhas that are particular for medicine and healing, but pictures of the plants all around it. And it's an exquisite piece of art. But it's also a teaching tool in societies that maybe didn't have a lot of books, etc. It can be a religious issue, like this the window I showed you in Chartres Cathedral, or the mandalas I showed you from Tibet. Um, but it can also be secular, and there's a huge explosion of secular mandalas. There are about 1 million books that you can color them if you want to, if you don't want to bother drawing them. But this is an example of sacred geometry, and it's a very powerful image, taking the circle and replicating and multiplying the circle. And like I said, there's examples in many cultures. This is also the mandala is also a very common shape in nature. This building out in radial symmetry. Here's a dandelion head, and this is your radial line, isn't it? So the next time you draw this, you may want to put the feathers on the end of your lines. So beautiful, but it's a sign of balance, harmony, movement, either out from the center or around the center. When you do this, you should feel expansive. You should be able to identify with these attributes and feel them in yourself. So keep in mind, here's a couple of other ideas for inspiration. Virtually every flower is a mandala, not just the petals. There's two layers here, but in the center, you can see this curling mandala shape that is almost like overlapping oval shapes. So again, nature is a great inspiration. And this is again that same look at that same twisting movement that's often seen in mandalas as well. Okay, here's the easiest mandalas of all. If you really don't want to, you find this drawing stuff a little bit overwhelming, you can do mandalas by arranging flowers, and there are some exquisite pictures on the internet of very elaborate mandalas built out of flowers. And this is one that I picked from my friend's garden, and we made mandalas all day together on a beautiful piece of art paper. This is also a stencil where you can stencil out the shapes, and the geometry is controlled for you, so then you can just articulate the shapes and enliven them and end up with something that's quite satisfying, whether you feel like you can or want to draw at all. But we're going to draw mandalas today. So what's the key? We're not doing this really super elaborate mandala today, but remember, it's still circular, it's symmetrical, repetition, pattern, balance, harmony, beauty, movement. Color can evoke these attributes. It can help you count the spaces around. Like if you follow the yellow, then follow the white, then follow the blue, then follow the dark blue, etc. But it's also about movement and peace. So now what you're going to do is this is going to be doodle mandalas. So we're not getting too fancy pantsy right now. You can take one of your small mandalas, you can hand draw your circles like I did here, and then draw inside them in a stellate pattern, in a spiral. You can take the flower as the source of your mandala. You can take the stellate pattern, put it down first, and draw on top of it. I often will paint a plain circle and then draw like this back on top of it. And so you can see you have a lot of options now. So here's what you're going to have for this element. You're going to have your circle. You're going to have color if you want it. You can do these in monochrome if you want. And you can just doodle them. Make them simple. Don't make a whole lot of a whole lot of stuff right now. You can see I have my center part. I articulate that first, and then I do the next band, and then I do the final band. That's a way to get started. Here's another example. Simple center, articulate out from that, and then fill in the little spaces so you feel like you have a circular hole. And if you just want to make loopy lines, that's good too. Alrighty. Okay. You're gonna have let's see, you're gonna have probably about 5 minutes for this. It's a little complicated, so I'll give you a little bit of extra time. Okay, all the same applications as before: slow drawing, intention, breathing, peace. Okay, all right, you guys, let's go. Take the first idea that's in your head. Don't overthink this. Define your center and go from there. These are supposed to be quick, so don't overwork anything. Just go on to the next one. Keep your shoulders relaxed, keep breathing, and keep your hand relaxed. Don't hold your breath. Keep breathing. Relax your hand. Drop your shoulders. Be physically in the sweep of the pencil or the pen as you're drawing. If you can't hit your target, slow down. Go really slowly and use your breath to help you get your line where you want it. Okay, come back to our time together. Now we're going to start to do a bit more construction coming up. And remembering our mandalas in nature, we should take the idea from the spider, first the center, then the spokes, then the circles, then the elaboration. Okay? That's the pattern. Whoops, sorry. Now, this is going to be a freehand mandala, so we're not necessarily going to be doing a lot with protractors and stuff, but you want to try to divide your circle when you're doing this somewhat evenly. So you find your center point, you find the vertical line, then you find the main horizontal line, and then you do some of the major radiations out from that line. And you'll see those in some of the examples I've shown you, and some of the examples that I think I sent you. I did. I sent you a circle that already has the quartering and the bands. If drawing that feels like a little overwhelming for you, then just use what I sent you, and you can try it real freehand after that. So find your center point, draw the crossbars, put in the major vertical, like split those quarters into eighths. That should give you enough structure. Then put in your bands, and then you can start to do your ornamentation. After you get all of it drawn, then you can color it back in, or you can have color in the bands or color in the pens you use. It's completely up to you. Remember, repetition, symmetry, balance, motion and balance. This is equipoise, moving and still, around and still. Okay? Now, this is an example of a hand-drawn mandala from my sketchbook, and you can see the lines are super wonky, and I did everything by hand, and I'm not even finished. I have room for another couple of circles around the mandala. Now, when you're starting to draw your mandala, you want to think about what we call elements, or the little bitty pieces you use for ornamentation. So I used dots, and I used lines. I used a little tight spiral. I used a circle. And I often start my mandalas with a flower in the middle. And so you establish your center, take the next band, the next band, the next band, etc. Okay? So, if you guys are ready, this time I'm gonna give you, how long should we draw for this? I think I'm gonna give you more like 10 minutes to draw for this, maybe even longer. Uh, let's see. No, I'm going to give you like about 15, 20 minutes. It's going to be enough time for you to really be able to put some time into this so that you can feel like you have something finished when you're done. Um, and again, remember, this mandala has been in my sketchbook for, months, and I just doodle on it when I feel like it. So you don't have to complete anything today. It's available to you to use however you want. Okay, so let's make this 20 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, that'll be good. 20 minutes. So go ahead, gather your tools, either a blank piece of paper or the form that I've already given you. Take a deep breath. Find your personal center by breathing several times. In and out. Release your breath completely. Relax your shoulders. Relax your hand. You've been doing a little bit of drawing, so you might need to open and close your hand a few times. Shake it out. Put everything in front of you that you're going to use. Think about your first couple of choices so they don't distract you from your flow state when you get into it. Start anytime you want.
Hi, Mary. We have some questions in the chat.
Sure,
Jennifer.
go ahead.
Jennifer asked, are we working on what we just made or a new sheet?
It depends on you entirely. This is going to be your big mandala for this event. If your concentric circles are calling you, put in your lines, start to work there. If you want to start all brand new, you can start from the marked sheet that I gave you. If all this drawing stuff is more than you really want, on that same drawing sheet, there's a blank mandala you can just color or draw in if you want to, or you can trace over it if you want to. So this is meant to be at whatever works for you, basically. Any other questions? I'll go into the chat and look at them. Let's see what we got here. Okay, why can't I see the chat?
I don't think we have further questions right
Oh,
now.
okay, good. All right. So, and if something else earlier really took your fancy and you want to spend this 15 minutes or so we have left, 12 minutes we have left, um, making doodle mandalas, that's brilliant. It's all up to you. This was a this was to give you a chance to experience a set of tools that you could then use for your own uh, well-being, for your own artistic creativity, because it really takes some, you have to think of new things all the time when you're doing your elaboration around the circle or when you think about how you want to put your colors together, etc. So it's a chance for creativity. It's a good simple practice. I got out of doing my art practice for a while, and so this allowed me a way to enter back into it and gave me a really helpful tool to go through the tough times of the pandemic, for example, and everything that came after. Okay, for everybody, just keep breathing. Relax your hand, relax your shoulders. Let one band stimulate the next band. So in this band, I have my leaf shape, and there's a dot above every leaf. Leaf shape, dot above every leaf. The dot goes to a line. The line anchors a flower. So you can use the band before to make your next band. We're down to about 2 minutes. No rush. You'll finish what you finish. Keep enjoying the process. As this exercise is coming to a close, I want to remind you about no judgments, about the process, not the product. I also want to remind you that to draw a large, fully elaborated mandala can take hours. When Tibetan monks make sand mandalas, it actually takes days. So, if you have completed a mandala, good for you. And if you're partway through it, that just gives you some jumping off places to start your next drawing session. Okay, why don't we come back to the room together? And this is a chance for you to start to share your work with me and to ask me questions if you feel like it. So I'm going to stop the share here for a moment so I can see everybody. I while you were drawing, I did some drawing, so I'll show you what I was drawing. Let's see. I'm going to take off I usually have blurred thing on my video. You'll see the junk behind me, but that's okay. Um, I can't find where that is now. Oh, blur my background. Okay, good. This will make it easier to see. So I was drawing some simple mandalas, a couple of colors. Then I got this one over here that I kind of don't like, but I'm going to keep working on it. That's what I was doing. How about you guys?
I'd love to show mine if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Christine, let's see what you got. A little bit closer.
This is Linda.
Oh, Linda. Oh, sorry. Christine Hordoza. Hey, Linda, show us what you got. Okay, so you got the big circle. You put the arch bars in. You're using the leaf motif. Lovely. That's really lovely. What are you planning to do to further do with that?
Well, obviously you don't write words in a typical mandala.
You absolutely can, though.
Thank you. And I just came from a visit with the doctor, so that
Uh,
inspired that.
uh-huh.
And I think maybe some color would be
Good.
good.
That's terrific. Some people start their mandalas by putting a word in the center of that little circle. So you can absolutely, and I have a whole series of these where I've drawn, where I have drawn words into sort of mandala shapes. And if I can find that sketchbook, I can show you that if y'all want to as well. So Christine held up hers. Show us again, Christine. Oh yeah, you started to do some color. Nice. I see your radiant lines. I see you put some color in. So talk a little bit about how those were for you.
Yeah, they were all really fun. I enjoyed playing with each different mandala or
Mm-hmm.
mandala. So I like the lines. Yeah,
Potato, potato. Yeah.
I could see myself just doing all of these. And I feel like I do a lot of doodling like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that I can put some intention and bring in some breathing. And I loved how you kept prompting us to relax our shoulders because I do find myself like
Typical. You start to draw like this. It's bad
I
for you.
just get so into it.
Yeah. Well, because you get your attention gets focused, which is good, but you want to keep your body relaxed so that that attention brings you relief rather than wind you up a little tighter. So
Yeah.
cool. I'm also gonna, I do these, this is a little book that I carry around with me. So it's not my big sketchbook, it's just a little teeny book. And I keep this with me so that as I'm, waiting to go into the doctor, or I have 2 minutes, I do some drawings. I do leaf motifs. I'm trying to see if that's focused for you guys. I have, different things, just whatever my lavender for my garden, leaves. Again, this is an example of those radiant mandalas, but trying to think of different ways I could make them different. So this is a waiting practice for me that turns waiting into a short meditation rather than something that's, like, oh my God, this is going to go on forever. So I'm not the world's most patient person. Anybody else have something they want to show? Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna talk for a second.
Mary.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
hey.
Mary. This is Ping. I
Hey,
actually,
Jean. Come on. Good to see
it's
you.
not
Can't
that I
see
have so much.
you.
It's the process that I think I wanted to share.
Okay.
But what I didn't get very far. However, for me, this is huge because when I started this, I could tell that there was a direct relationship between the speed of my hand and the speed of my mind. It
Good.
was really hard for me to slow down.
I
I
love singing. I
and
know that.
so I made my primary goal just to get so that I could just be slow without feeling like I'm making myself be slow. And then
Nice.
after that, what started happening was I started noticing I was just breathing in a more relaxed way. I wasn't trying to breathe in a, and then once I got in that, I was able to actually work on this. Like there was this the beginning process was really wrestling with me and my
Your
brain.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ping, that's great insight. And you got into what I like to call the flow state. And that's the state of deep peace, deep healing, deep creativity. Um, it's a chance for you to, a lot of people have to sit their butt on a cushion for ages to get to that point. I'm terrible at regular meditation, but this becomes my meditation. And it's a constant feedback. I am going too fast. I'm making a judgment. I'm not allowing something to happen. I'm trying to make it happen. Beautiful life lessons for me every freaking second. So, congratulations. And I'm glad you shared that insight because the drawing does start to regulate your breathing. It's the repetition and the intense focus on the physicality of it allows your monkey mind to stop bugging the bejesus out of you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so I'm glad, thank you. That's for me, that's what the point of this whole exercise is. The process and the outcome and how it makes
Yeah.
you feel. So
Yes.
good.
Thank
Anybody else have trouble with judgments, self-judgments, like that little you don't need to do this way kind of voice? I showed you things that I thought were stupid ugly that I couldn't concentrate on, so believe me, I'm gonna go back and keep adding color until I get a little bit more satisfied.
Um,
Um, Go
yeah,
ahead,
I had, this is Julie. I had
Julie.
trouble with judgment because I'll just show mine real quickly, but it's not very symmetrical.
It,
So
you know what? It is. It
that
is
was,
symmetrical. It is because the repetition
yeah,
smooths out the wonkiness. And that example of that black and blue version of mine, I
Yeah.
actually stopped drawing on it because I thought it was nasty and I just thought it was stupid and it was wrong and I hated it. So I just left it in my sketchbook. And as I've come back to it, I can see how I constructed it and I can see that I kind of like it. It's not, and so I encourage you not to throw that away, but to finish it or keep it so you keep working on it because we could see the repetition in the bands and
Yeah.
that is symmetry, the motion. And good for you. Thanks for sharing.
I certainly tried, but yeah, I
Yep.
found like the loops were different sizes and spaces and so forth. So
And
yeah,
so the first time you hopped on a bike, you were perfect. The first time
yeah.
you threw a baseball, you were perfect. The first time you tried to cook, you were perfect. The first time my husband tried to cook, he sliced the crap out of his hand. So, you're never good at something the first time you do it, according to your judgmental mind.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I do art, I mean,
huh?
I paint, but part of the reason I like painting is I don't have to be precise. I don't like drawing that much, honestly, because I feel like I've got to
Yeah.
be more precise with drawing. So, yeah.
And you also have an image of in your mind of how it should look. And again, I encourage you because on whatever kind of art you do, this helps you make more intentional marks. And
Hmm.
even in painting, when you maybe release your judgmental mind, use color, form, whatever, this will help you get into that flow state, inhabit it more robustly, and be able to make your marks and suspend your judgment until you step back and take a real hard look.
Yeah.
So I think just for this exact um, exercise, finish it. See what you think after you've put it away for a while.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
And so for all you guys, because we're getting close to time, I want to talk to you a little bit about how you can take this practice forward. Um, have a little book you do your drawings in. It's hard to throw things away if you have to tear a page out. Personal, personal experience because I've torn plenty of pages out and had the whole book fall apart. Um, it also allows you to go back and watch how your ideas are changing or evolving or developing. And that's kind of cool for those of you who have an artistic practice. For those of you who are doing this just to get your mind quiet, then you can do it on a random piece of paper and you can throw that away. But I do think there's real value in keeping things. Um, this grid of 9 circles that I showed you, I drew that one night when I was really too restless to sleep and that settled me down by the end. But sometimes if I just need to look again, I'll look at the book with all those drawings and that repetition and that it reminds me of the physical state I was in and I can recapture that state. So keep your drawings, make time for this regularly. Don't let yourself have an excuse. Get a little something you can drag around with you so that any 3 or 4 minutes where you're by yourself and quiet, waiting for someone to come meet you for lunch, whatever, you can have your little book so you can be doing some work in that. And this as a regular practice can become an honest to God meditative practice. And then if as you get more expert in your drawing or more comfortable with your drawing, you may end up with products that you actually want to finish. This is a really solid basis if you want to go on and do the more elaborate mandalas where you use a protractor and things are supposed to be really right on the money, Linda. And but I've done that and I can show you how to do that. We can have another whole session where we do that. But one of my favorite drawings that is really super easy to do, but looks really excellent when you finish. I'll try to find an example in here. Um, so this is a finished doodle around this big spiral. Again, it doesn't have to be exotic, doesn't have to be perfect. A spiral that turns into a basket. Those are super easy to do. They look like they're really fancy pantsy, but they're pretty easy. Um, oh, this one, this flower in the corner. I'm gonna try to see if you guys can get a good look at this. Can you see that? It looks like a mum. It's a million little petals. This is easy to do, and it looks great when it's done. And there's so many petals, even if you make a mistake, who cares? You just keep doing your petals and it all kind of evens out. So there are ways to elaborate this so you can get something that makes you feel like it's something you might want to keep or show. But again, process first, product second. And it's a really nice stimulus for creativity, thinking outside the box, so you can think of different ways to make your marks, different ways to make your lines, different ways to divide up your circle. And there also are free form mandalas where you just feel inside the circle, and then you can meditate on those, and they're great for self-insight. So there's at least two different ways that we can go with another class if you want one. And you let me know, and I'm back here anytime you guys want me. So first I have to say thank you very much for sharing this time with me, sharing a passion of mine, and drawing with me, because it's something that is much more fun to do in community, although it's great to do as an action with yourself. So for all your attention, for all your engagement, for all your scary stuff that you did, for showing me the things that you thought weren't perfect, and I commend you for that. So thank you very deeply from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming today.
And thank you, Mary. I'm just going to give some ASL applause.
Thanks,
Also,
everybody.
feel
Back to
free to
you.
unmute and say thank you.
Right
And I'm
back
going
at
to do
you.
some
Thanks,
house. Don't
Mary.
leave yet, because I'm going to do some
Thank
housekeeping.
you.
In the chat, I put in our post-session survey. I see we have some thank yous in the chat, so you might have to scroll up again to find the link. We would really appreciate if you fill out the survey, as it helps us improve our offerings and know what matters to you. And also learn more about your experience and how we can continue to do better to improve, and also to continue what's going right. So let us know how this was. I also want to acknowledge our funders. Let me just pull up a slide really quick. So this series is supported by donations, and in part by the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors through the Los Angeles County Department of Arts and Culture, and through Creative Recovery LA, an initiative funded by the American Rescue Plan. I also want to thank the folks who donated today. There were actually a lot, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
In order to continue offering this for free, donors like you really make an impact. So we really appreciate it. And then I just also want to briefly share about our upcoming programs. So our next two Hope Series workshops in September are presented in partnership with the Creative Healing for Youth in Pain organization. And we're really excited to partner with them to support these workshops that are coinciding with Pain Awareness Month. So bookmark these. They're already online for you to register for, and we're very excited. I also wanted to talk about our upcoming signature program training. So our 4-module social emotional arts toolkit training, it occurs each Friday of this coming September. And you can sign up for a module individually, or you can take all 4 as a bundle, and that leads to a certificate if you complete all 4 modules. We also are still accepting applications for our fall intensive certificate program in social emotional arts. We really encourage you to get those applications in early. It helps us onboard you and facilitate your experience. And then we have another Beat the Odds online facilitator training upcoming at the end of September as well. What's exciting is that we're offering a youth-led extension. So if you've actually taken the Beat the Odds training before, I would encourage you to revisit the website and look at this new youth-led extension that we're offering, which focuses on how youth can lead other youth in drumming activities. So that's it for today. We're actually a little bit early. We don't normally end at 5. We usually end right on time, and we're 4 minutes early. So I'm going to stop my share and just open the floor if anyone has anything to say before
And
we end today.
you can ask me any questions. The first time I did this, people want to know, how do you use art in your medical practice? You can ask me about tools. You can ask me about exercises, whatever you want.
Dr. Mary,
Yes, ma'am.
I wrote a question in the chat, and you sent us sheets with squares on it. Are mandalas done in squares as well?
Interesting. I intended to send you the circles. So you could, if you look at the Tibetan mandala at the beginning, there is a circle inside a square inside a circle. So some mandalas do start from the square shape. But I usually do mine in the circle because I find that a much more organic shape.
Thank you.
Me. Uh-huh. Anybody else have a question or comment?
How do you use them in your medical practice? I'm curious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I had an internal medicine practice, and I evolved into integrative medicine and then into integrative oncology. So mostly my exercises I asked patients to do fell into sort of a couple of basic categories. The first was to bring self-awareness to somebody, and often this is things that are happening that are outside of our conscious linear awareness. An example of that is, I'm sorry, of course, because now I'm going to talk, I'm coughing. I had a patient who was really depressed, and everything I said to her, it was no, 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 no. And so all the usual reflecting back to her, asking her to think about something, she just didn't get what I was saying. So I brought to the office for her next visit a pack of tissue paper. And it was those many, many, many colors. It was a million colors. It included every color you can imagine. And I gave it to her and I said, every day, take out of this pack the colors that you're drawn to, glue them down and bring them to me. So we did that in her next visit. She came back and she had like, I don't know, 8 or 10 of them. And guess what colors they were? Black, gray, really dark colors. And she looked at them and she looked at me and she said, "Okay, I get your point." I couldn't get her to get the point any other way. And that was a great way she showed herself. And then when she showed me, the circle was complete. I often would have people draw before they would go to sleep, especially if they were worriers. And then when they get into bed and it gets quiet, they start to scroll through everything they needed to do during the day or didn't do, or recriminations or whatever goes into their quiet mind. So I'd have them first write out that list and then spend some time drawing or putting color on the page, anything that got them out of that mindset. Have them do some deep breathing along with it. Then they got into bed. They had a better than even shot that they wouldn't make themselves nuts with that. Um, I often would have people do a quick little drawing, sometimes to show me where they were. And my favorite was a patient who thought this was all ridiculous. So in the waiting room, she drew, a couple little eyes and a couple of wiggles over her eyes. And she thought they were she thought they were her eyebrows. And when she came in to show me, I said, "Did you draw it?" She goes, "Well, sure." And she showed me this picture. And I said, "Oh, you're feeling really overwhelmed right now, aren't you?" And she was like, "How did you know that?" Because she was convinced there's no way your unconscious mind would tell you something that would be useful. So that's how I usually used it in my practice, as a method for relaxation, as a way to gain insight. Oh, I also for a long time treated a lot of patients who had eating disorders, really severe eating disorders, and so very distorted self-images of, especially of their body. So for those women, I would print out a set of goddess pictures, or I'd have a link to a website and just have them look at pictures of goddesses, women that were worshipped, literally worshipped. And that was sometimes a way into getting them to think a little bit more kindly about their own bodies. And that reminds me that any of this art, writing, dancing, drawing, painting, any of these things, you can get benefit by the doing for sure, and that's maybe the strongest benefit. But you can also get benefit by going to a museum, looking at beautiful pictures, sitting in a garden, etc. So, yeah, so that's the answer to that question. All right, you guys, anything else? Or I'm going to let Jessica take it away, whatever you guys want. Okay. Thank you again for sharing this time with me. It's deeply meaningful to me, and it's very moving that you would take this time out of your day and draw with me.